Great, Mario. Great to have you here. I'm really looking forward to have again another call with you, and I am happy that we can do this right now. So, what do you think? Why are we here today?
Look, I mean, I'm so excited about Prime Computer, and we're obviously here to discuss a little bit more about our partnership and making sure that we can actually excite as many partners out there in the market for these new innovative technology which we have on board.
Great. So, you like to present yourself a little bit so everybody knows who you are. So, I'm going to do that thing.
I'm Mario Veljovic. I'm the general manager of VAD Technologies. We are based out of here in Dubai, in the Middle East. I myself living out here almost for 20 years and have seen obviously a lot of changes in this marketplace.
Okay, great. My name is Sacha Ghiglione. I'm CEO and board member of the Swiss IT hardware producer Prime Computer. We are convinced that IT hardware needs to be produced and used sustainably. So this perfectly lines up with my personal motivation to engage and make everybody around me a little bit better and to motivate them towards a more sustainable home, our Earth. And I think this is quite an important topic nowadays.
Absolutely. So now tell us, Sasha, how did you actually got in touch with us and how did we actually build up this cooperation?
Absolutely. So it's we are represented in the UAE since about 4 years through our sales director Nigel Ransom, and about a year ago, approximately, we met the first time, you and I. So we could discuss a little bit. I presented Prime Computer, and obviously it has been heard before. But back in September, when I came back to Dubai, we had an amazing talk at Sunset. I don't remember the place again. Can you have you that in mind?
It's the Radisson in Business Bay, near to the Burj Khalifa.
Yes, an amazing site. We had a beautiful sunset, about 2 hours or three, nearly three. We had an amazing talk, and we spoke about different point of views, but especially on how we should merge our work together due to the disruptive technology we bring to the market and the way how you represent actually technologies in all that capacity. So there was no way around that we cannot work together. And I thought that we needed further representation throughout the whole GCC countries. So there you came to board. Thank you so much. I think on this point, we can now ask, why do you think that Prime and VAD Technologies fit together so well for the markets?
I mean, you see, for us, it's like all about redefining, technology distribution in the region. And how we do this is actually by obviously scouting very innovative and very disruptive technologies in the market. So obviously, when Prime was presented to us as an opportunity to actually help you build a wider ecosystem for your technologies and solutions, that was obviously something which was blending in very well. And as you can imagine, here out in the Middle East, we have some very challenging environments. And this is exactly where we need solutions which are obviously resistant to high heat. And obviously we have a very strong growing healthcare sector where obviously hygiene plays a very critical role. And along with the form factor Prime Computers is addressing, we felt that this would really fit into this segment. And that brought us basically onto a mission in order to find new partners and excite them about these new technology. And it's doing well so far.
Perfect, great. So do you think that desktop PCs and server are still relevant in those age of notebooks, smartphones, and the cloud?
Look, it's a very good question. In general, I would say that there's always a segment for every market. Maybe it's not, let's say, 90% of the market, which still needs, let's say, desktops and servers. But I think there's always a need for a hybrid. Only cloud is not enough. Only smartphone is not enough. Yes, even myself, I probably work more with my smartphone than I would actually work with my notebook. But as I mentioned earlier, there are very challenging, let's say, environments and very critical infrastructures, which needs to be addressed by on-premise computing, as well as even with very reliable desktop. And I mean, if you even design it in a very aesthetic way, then it even becomes a masterpiece on your desk.
Perfect. No, this makes totally sense. Absolutely. Yes.
But how do you see, Sasha? I mean, let me ask you this one. So how do you see customers and partners reacting to your solutions, not just in the Middle East, but across? And what's the feedback you get from partners?
So we get absolutely astonishing positive feedback throughout the different branches and markets in where we are represented yet. So it is designed for a permanent use. So due to the food and beverage sector, but also you mentioned the medical sector, we are well represented in different hospitals, in ICUs, but also on medical cards, etc. Due to the fanless system, and there is no dirt throwing through the air, etc. So once our clients use Prime Computer, also the low failure rate, what comes with it, they never go back. So we're trying to just to get a brighter understanding of how to represent the brand across all borders, so more people can have all the benefits of our computers. So we are actually getting good feedback.
That's great.
So I think we talked a little bit business, but maybe the people are eager to get to know a little bit about the person behind our brands and leading those brands. So let's make it a little bit more personal. What do you think?
No, I think that's great. I think it's I like this style of an interview because it will definitely help us, especially in this current situation, in order to really, I mean, share more of us and probably reach more people as well.
So your background is you grew up in Germany most of the time. So how is your recognition? How does IT hardware and Switzerland actually fit together from someone living now nearly 20 years in the UAE?
Yeah, probably IT is probably not the first thing which springs to your mind when you think about Switzerland. I think you probably think more about like maybe chocolates and cows and beautiful landscapes. And but what is more importantly is like I think where it blends very well, and I think that is exactly the disruption which we're actually looking for is when people actually basically bringing together synergies between the image of Switzerland and bring that back into IT. Because what is Switzerland known for? Switzerland is known for reliability, for precision, and for quality, obviously. And all of this together, and then bringing this back into IT is obviously a fantastic disruptor in the market, where we would see probably majority of the products being somewhere manufactured in Far East and with only a very few manufacturers still even in Europe, leave alone in maybe places as beautiful as Switzerland.
Yes, thank you. A great question. So what do you think makes a good leader? Leadership. How do you lead?
I think leadership, I think it's something which, I mean, there are a lot of books about this in terms of what makes a good leader. And I think it's something which is probably not very, it's not very easy to learn it. I think somehow you need to have it in you. I think it's all about how you have been raised by your family, how you have been grown up, probably even by how you have grown up, what challenges you were actually confronted with in order for you to actually find your way out. And probably first of all, be a good leader of your own life, of your own family. And that is probably then the moment when you can really feel that, look, I actually could be a good leader. And I always said this even to my team many times, it's like, I think the moment where my team will start understanding why I act in a specific way, then they're actually up for the next move, because then they probably have started to understand what I'm all looking at. And that was the same for me when I was actually, I mean, working my way up. And I mean, I'm very happy to actually celebrate now 25 years of IT distribution this year. And I think that makes a good leader, somebody who's obviously listening and understanding, but obviously have a lot of good ethics along with him, and feels part of the team. So I think we don't have this leaders anymore, which are leading from the top, and I think that's not the style, and that's not a style I have seen with you and your team, and that's why I would like to give you that question back in terms of what do you think makes a good leader?
Thank you so much. It was a really good answer. I think we have similarities, a lot of different similarities in here. So I think as well, it is someone who sets examples. I tend to say that I work for the people and not the people for me. And this is how I see it, that I try to do everything in order for them to reach or give them anything they need, advice, tools, whatever, to reach what they set as goals, that at the end should be also company goals in some sort of way. But it's important that leadership gives a personal experience from what you got. So my credo is you can either win or you can learn. You cannot really fail or failure, because everything is an experience which should make you better. So you're totally right. There's so many diverse possibilities how leadership should be or could be, but you need to take your style out of it. And I think people centricity is something that is really important nowadays. So in comparing to what you just said, did you had any role models, or do you have now role models where you tend to look up?
I think there are so many great leaders, I think, especially in the IT, which I'm looking up to. I had the pleasure to work with a lot of them and worked a lot for them as well. So I had some very good leaders I was working for, which I was very fortunate with. But when it's about like really one role model, which I have, let's say, admiring consistently, then it's actually quite interesting, because I'm more coming from an IT and from a commercial background, but it's actually a role model which comes from engineering. And that is the late Ferdinand Porsche. And the reason for this is because he has actually created a very iconic car, which has been almost being unchanged in 50 years. And it is still being recognized by the 4-year-old boy, which is interested in cars. Because the shape and the basic concept have never really changed from the 911. And I found this is something which is really impressive, and even making sure that that philosophy of the business and the concept has been maintained for so long. So I'm a big fan of endurance. And as I said, he's an engineer. He's not commercial. He's not IT either. But that is really something which I admire and I see as a role model. But what about you? I mean, I know you're reading a lot of books and you're very knowledgeable. So who have been, or who is your role model?
It is difficult. It is always, obviously, this is a question that comes sometimes, and you think about that. Who did actually gave you so much along the way, or you look up to? You're totally right. There are a lot of different people you work with who you think they really founded what you are actually doing. But back in the days, I used to have someone who gave me great advice, which I think turned out to be where I am now. So it's Alan Leffley. He used to be 13 years long president, chairman, and CEO of Procter & Gamble. And he's a visionary leader with great skills and driven with his human-centered design. So this was at that time revolutionary. And I think this is one point why I try to do what I do with empathy and kindness. A little bit something more recent, what I'm really looking up to, and he's not an IT, he's not an engineer, but it's Simon Sinek. A lot of people have heard about him. He's a motivational speaker, author, and consultant. His way of seeing organizations and processes and humans are phenomenal. So with his book, Start with Why, you mentioned that earlier. If your people understand why you do something, then, and we always try to start with why, and then we go bigger, the why, how, and then what we do. So this book and this perception changed the game and the viewpoint of several industries. So I admire the way how he combines behavioral knowledge, psychology, and communicating it in such a simple way that everybody can understand it.
Very good.
So in all what we do, and also in current situation like crisis like that, how do you get your motivation? How do you motivate yourself?
how do you motivate yourself? I mean, obviously, I mean, working with my team gives me a lot of motivation. And I think my team is working with me for many, many years, and we have went through a lot of disruptions. And obviously, being 20 years in the Middle East, we have seen a lot of changes. And we still get excited seeing like new flyovers being opened up and new infrastructure being put in place. And it's just an amazing place to experience this change which we see. So that itself, living in Dubai is a great motivation, and that went even back to the time when my wife, as a small child, actually came to the Middle East and to Dubai specifically, and it was always her dream actually to live in Dubai at one point of time. And obviously, being able to obviously help your wife to achieve her dream is giving you motivation on a daily basis. Always saying like, happy wife, happy life. And beside this, obviously, for me, what gives me motivation in order to get up in the morning, obviously, is my business, which we see growing over the recent years, and my sport. I like to play golf. I'm getting up for this very early in the morning, especially during the summertime when the heat is becoming too much during middays and even late afternoons. So we're getting up at like 4:30 in the morning and playing a quick round of golf just before getting to the office. I still reach before many of my people. So it is not as time consuming as people might believe. And yes, that drives a lot of motivation, and that gives me energy, and that gives me oxygen, and that helps me even to prepare for the day ahead. So yeah, I mean that's what I do. But I'm keen to hear from you. What motivates you?
I think so. Something that I used to start 2.5 years ago is it's like a strictly daily routine, which I have, which gives me obviously motivation because sometimes you don't want to do something, but if you have that not as a habit anymore, but as a routine, like brushing your teeth, this is something that you think, because you mentioned it earlier, it's about continuity, it's about long-term things. And so my daily routine includes a yoga session, cold showering, and some exercises. So this, and I try to give me daily slots to think. So it's a little bit weird, but thinking is an important process, what we do. And I think motivation I get from my positivity. So we are who we are because of everything we do and what we experience. So which brings us to where we are now. And so my advice here is to seek joy, to take care of yourself, and to pursue adventure. So your brain will actually do the rest. Yes.
Perfect. But let me ask you a question now. I mean, now obviously, I mean, these times are actually crazy. I mean, I think we are challenged with something which nobody has been challenged before in that scale. So tell me, like the current crisis. I mean, do you see it as an opportunity, or do you see it as a threat? And how do you experience these disruption right now?
It's a really good question, and you always need to think of nowadays everybody seems to be an expert, and actually at the end nobody is an expert because there's so much knowledge that we don't have, and we cannot really look into the future. But there's some things that are for certain is that it will change. It will never go. It will never happen that we have a pre-corona time after the corona time because of something I mentioned earlier, all we experience. I think we fear the idea of personal change because we think we have to sacrifice something to give something up. But humans are actually our best when we are incentive, creative, when we are ingenious. And I think when we use love and compassion, that we can create and develop things and implement systems that change that what we have to do as a beneficial for the environment and for humans. So when we give ourselves a second chance, like in general we should do for times now, then we are at our best. So when we support each other, when we give each other chances, when we help each other grow, when we educate each other, what currently happens all over the places through Zoom, to yoga sessions, solidarity, when we guide each other towards redemption, that is the best of humanity. And the world will be different, as I said earlier afterward, but it doesn't need to be a worse one. So it will become new in a certain way. because of our way or a new perception of the world, or a new perception of different things. And that is basically the essence of what change means for the future, right? So, what is your point of view in terms of crisis? Now, you said you've been a long time in the UAE, so you had nearly three crises with the .com and 2008 crisis. How do you experience, how do you react in crisis, and maybe a little bit about what is the current situation different from early on?
Yeah, I think this time the crisis, where the difference is in the crisis today is that it's something which is impacting everybody. So it's not just like the crisis which we see, which was like financial crisis predominantly. Right now, it's a crisis which impacts everybody. Yes, there are differences in terms of how much it will probably impact you immediately. So there's always if you look into it, there's a short-term threat and there is a long-term threat. We, in general, see it more as an opportunity. I think we see that digital transformation of businesses is just accelerating at a phenomenal speed. And with the portfolio which we represent in the market, we actually always been onboarding vendors like Prime Computers, which are very much innovative, disruptive, future-proof. And with this, obviously, we see a very strong acceptance in the market now in order to embrace these new technologies. And as you rightly mentioned, we will not see a lot of the things which we are now adapting to, going back to. I think, yes, for us being in IT, we're probably in a very fortunate situation because we are used to do video conferences, webinars and webcasts, and listen to and using technology actually. And other tech sectors, obviously, they have bigger challenges in order to adapt to this one, and they will probably have will see a bigger threat on this one. Obviously, if this threat is going, or if this crisis is going on for too long, obviously we're going to see even casualties in that sense. So we actually take it with the attitude of seeing it as a very good opportunity, and we actually prepare ourselves in order to be ready as soon as the market will rebound back, because it will happen, and history has proven this. And yeah, I think in the meantime, you just need to stay close to your team. You need to stay close to your ecosystem. We appreciate things like what you do with us now, Sacha, in terms of like having video calls, driving more presence, virtual presence, online presence, for people to actually stay close to us. And we see actually a very positive response to all of this.
It's amazing, cool. Really like that. So I tried to make a little turn into our interactive interview right now. So if you don't mind, I want to ask you about 60 seconds easier questions. So I'm gonna say about you need to choose, or maybe you want to have both. Is that okay for you? Shall we start?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So football or Formula One?
None of both.
Okay, chocolate or gummy bears?
Gummy bears.
Sushi or burger?
Burger.
Hip hop or house music?
House music.
Book or podcast?
Podcast.
Hardcover or Kindle?
Hardcover.
Okay. Gut person or a head person?
A gut person.
Motorcycle or convertible?
I love convertibles.
Makes sense. Sand or snow?
Sand.
Cloud or own servers?
I love the cloud. I like to sell the servers.
Rolex or Apple Watch?
Apple Watch during the day, Rolex watch on the weekend and in the evenings.
Perfect. Great answer. Thank you so much. 60 seconds are over. Amazing.
Thank you.
So I think this is a good answer. So I really want to thank you for your time. I love to have you next time around again, and can't wait that we meet each other physically when the time is over, and maybe we can meet in a green boardroom.
Looking forward to you being in Dubai again. I really miss these conversations. As I said, I mean, yes, business can continue virtually, but it's all about these conversations as we had it at that sunset you mentioned actually at the Radisson, where you actually talk about much more than just the business. And that's obviously something which is much easier if you do it like really face to face. And I mean, you can actually get into a different level of conversation altogether, and you strengthen the partnership with it. So thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce myself, introduce our business, introduce our collaboration. And I'm so curious to see the next interviews with all your other business partners. And once again, thanks for starting this format here.
Thank you so much, Maria, and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.